Hey there, cowboy. In our world, people are always hustling to prove something. They want to show they're right. They crave to feel worthy, and they often go to great lengths just to be seen. Some even beg or overjustify, but a true Stoic, like John or Mike, doesn't fall into that trap. A Stoic doesn't plead for attention or chase approval. They don't feel the need to explain themselves to everyone because they understand that silence is a sign of true strength. Now, most folks, when they get hurt, rejected, or misunderstood, tend to rush. They chase after what's broken, trying to fix things by explaining how they feel to people who have already made up their minds not to understand. That right there is a display of weakness masquerading as bravery. For example, when you call someone and they ignore you, so you send another message, pour your heart out in a long paragraph, hoping they'll recognize your worth. Here's the truth. The more you explain, the more you beg, the more power you lose. That's not how a Stoic behaves. Think of heroes like Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus. They mastered the art of silence, not because they didn't care, but because they knew that the more we focus on things outside our control, the weaker we become. When you chase someone's attention or beg for their understanding, you're handing over your control. You're saying, "My peace depends on how they respond." That's not peace, that's prison. Real strength is walking away when someone disrespects you, not out of pride, but because your dignity doesn't scream or chase or explain. Instead, it quietly detaches. That silence isn't emptiness. It's discipline, self-respect, and inner strength that whispers, "I don't need you to hear me to hear myself." People find this terrifying because when you don't react, they start losing the grip they thought they had over you. Today, I want to talk about that kind of silence, the kind that builds power, not weakness. The silence that makes folks wonder what's changed. That lets your absence speak louder than words ever could. We're going to break down 6 deep truths, 6 reasons why silence is a true superpower in Stoicism, and why those who practice it don't waste time chasing, begging, or explaining. If you're tired of overgiving, misunderstood, or chasing after someone who's walked away, this is your moment to shift gears. Let this message serve as a reminder you might have needed without even realizing it. Before we get into point 1, do me a favor, hit that like button if this hits home. Leave your thoughts and affirmations in the comments as we go. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more wisdom on growing like a true Stoic. And don't skip any part, because one single truth might change the way you carry yourself forever. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation below. My silence is my power. First, silence makes people feel your absence more than just hearing your words. Have you ever noticed that when you stop explaining yourself, when you cease chasing after people, they suddenly start thinking more, they hesitate, they reflect? That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push away, it pulls inward. Think back to a time you got hurt. Maybe someone ghosted you, disrespected you, or gave you the cold shoulder. Your instinct was probably to fight back, to say something, to defend your worth. But here's the thing. The more you talk, the less they listen. The more you chase, the faster they distance themselves. But when you decide to go silent, you suddenly go unnoticed, and that absence is what matters. Elbert Hubbard once said, "If people don't understand your silence, they won't understand your words either." The ancient Stoics knew this well. Silence makes people uncomfortable because it exposes their true nature in ways noise never can. When you withdraw instead of reacting to someone who expected you to beg, you're forcing them to face themselves. Silence acts like a mirror, saying, "I saw what you did. I feel how you treated me, but I value myself too much to explain it." This kind of silence comes not from ego, but from clarity, a deep understanding that if they cared, they'd reach out. If they respected you, they'd show it. If they were mature, they wouldn't need a long paragraph to grasp your worth. So, you stay silent, and in doing so, reclaim every ounce of power you thought you lost. You stop wasting energy trying to make people understand who don't even understand themselves. Sometimes, wounds need silence to heal better than words, and yes, it's uncomfortable because silence will trigger them. It might confuse, make them ask, "Why isn't he reacting? Why didn't she reply?" Did they stop caring? That's when you know the power is starting to shift. Silence tells one undeniable truth. They can't ignore you because you no longer react. You owe them no explanations anymore. Number 2. When you remain silent, you hear truth louder than ever. The world may be loud, full of chaos and noise, but silence lets you listen more deeply not to others but to yourself. When pain strikes betrayal, heartbreak, confusion, most people bolt, seeking advice or validation from friends, scrolling social media, or confronting the one who hurt them, hoping some right conversation will heal everything. The Stoic, however, practices a different approach. They go quiet, not because they don't feel pain, but because they understand that genuine answers don't come from shouting or fighting. Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you're distressed by external events, remember that the pain isn't from the event itself, but from your judgment of it." True silence is when your mind clears. When calm washes over confusion and frustration, the truth begins to surface. They never really respected me, I just didn't see it before. I'm not angry because they left me. I'm angry because I stayed too long. These insights don't come in texts or shouted arguments. They're born in the quiet hours of reflection, when you stop explaining and start listening inward. Silence gives you space to separate your feelings from your values, because when you're hurting, feelings scream for validation, to chase, or to prove your worth. But when you're silent, your core beliefs whisper, hold your dignity, protect your peace, let go. That's why the Stoics didn't react impulsively. They embraced stillness, a sacred pause before the storm. Modern society teaches the opposite. Speak loudly, tell everyone how you feel, never hold back. But what most miss is that respect isn't gained through loud reactions, it's cultivated by silence. The more grounded you remain, the more others reveal their true nature. You don't need to ask if they care. Their actions do all the talking. And when you embrace silence, you respond with purpose instead of reaction. It isn't passivity, it's focus, discipline, clarity. It's the doorway to wisdom that most never walk through. When overwhelmed and unsure, instead of acting out, stay still. Inside that quiet is where your true strength lies. Number 3. Always remember, begging for closure is one of the harshest forms of self-betrayal. Many folks aren't willing to admit it, but chasing closure often leads to more pain, not peace. We all crave that last conversation, that honest explanation, that sense that it's finally finished. But the brutal truth is, if someone truly cared, they wouldn't leave you hanging so much. They'd give you closure with respect. If they don't, then your silence now becomes your closure. You don't need a long explanation. You just walk away. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You don't need others' validation. You just need to embody what you believe." When you stop chasing ending or validation, you stop giving others power over your healing. Pain is real, but needing them to explain why they hurt you is giving control to someone else. You get caught in a cycle. They hurt you, you demand answers. They respond coldly or avoid you, and you feel worse over and over. Eventually, you realize that closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. When you choose silence and walk away, that's your closure. It's saying, I don't need their words, I need my own peace. It's easy to think that if you just communicate enough, they'll understand. But the truth is, you're talking to someone who's already made their decision, someone who may have already come to peace with hurting you. All that effort you put into explaining yourself, it's wasted energy trying to fix something that can't be fixed. That's self-abandonment in disguise. The Stoics knew that emotions, especially ego, cloud judgment. They understood that genuine closure isn't about getting someone to apologize. It's recognizing that what they gave was the best they could offer. When you accept that, your power comes rushing back. The people who hurt you don't need to understand your worth. You do. The ones who left don't need to say goodbye. Your silence now speaks the conclusion. Don't keep writing unsent letters or rehearsing the perfect message. Just let your silence be the final answer. They may be angry or confused, but the real lesson is for you. Your peace doesn't need permission. Sometimes, stepping away quietly teaches more than any argument ever could. When you stop chasing, you stop giving away your power, you detach, and that's where true healing begins. Number 4. Silence shows what words often try to hide. When you choose to go quiet, something real happens, masks fall, and truth emerges. Words can help, but they're also easily deceptive. People say what sounds right, what they want you to hear, or what makes them look good: excuses, apologies, justifications. But silence can't lie. It's loudest in its honesty. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What you do speaks so loudly I cannot hear what you say." The ancient Stoics understood this connection deeply. They didn't judge people based on their apologies or words, but on their patterns. And the best way to see someone's true character: stop talking and observe. When you stop explaining yourself, you give others the chance to show who they really are. If they respect you, they'll miss your presence and reach out with honesty. If they only used you or manipulated you, they'll vanish because they never truly valued you. The ones who grew angry or confused weren't really in control, they just lost it. Words create illusions. Silence reveals reality. You don't need to confront them or challenge them. Just step back, be silent, and watch. See who checks on you when you're quiet. See who disappears when you cease to give. Observe who gets frustrated because they can't provoke a reaction. That's the brutal truth. Silence hurts more than 1,000 confrontations, because people can dismiss your words, but they can't dismiss your absence. They might argue about your opinions, but they can't argue with your stillness. When you remain silent, you stop fueling their illusions, stop playing their emotional games, and stop pretending that their words are more meaningful than their actions. That silence, it's clarity. It allows you to trust patterns over empty promises. It makes you believe in energy, not just words. That's the essence of Stoicism. It's not cold or distant. It's clear, disciplined, and rooted in truth. When someone tries to come back, don't rush to respond. Observe. Be silent. Let the silence do the talking, and let the truth emerge on its own. Number 5. Not explaining yourself anymore is, in the end, the ultimate act of confidence. When somebody misunderstands you, it stings. You want to defend, justify, or explain. You want to shout, "That's not who I am." But the true Stoic, like Robert or David, doesn't chase validation through explanations. Instead, they seek understanding within. Why? Because trying to convince everyone you're right is actually a sign of fear, not strength. It's a way of seeking approval. Marcus Aurelius once advised, "Don't waste your energy trying to convince others of your goodness. Instead, know yourself and be at peace." When you stop trying to explain, you're not being arrogant, you're being confident. You trust that your intentions are pure, your actions aligned, your value doesn't need to be translated. This detachment isn't easy. You'll probably be called cold or selfish, and some people might even drift away. But guess what? Losing those who don't see your worth isn't a loss, it's alignment. The truth is, most people prefer to control how they see you instead of understanding you. When you stop explaining, you lead with your energy. You stop rationalizing, justifying, or defending. You simply act. That's real power. When your silence speaks louder than words, it's not arrogance, it's clarity. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You don't need to justify your boundaries. Your silence already tells your story better than words ever could. Number 6. Your detachment, expressed through silence, is what truly teaches others the lesson. There's something extremely powerful about walking away, not in anger or drama, but with quiet dignity. You don't slam doors or send angry messages. You just leave with quiet confidence. And in that silence, you teach more than any speech ever could. Seneca was right: most suffering happens in the mind, in the stories we tell ourselves. The real pain begins when thoughts replay the silence and you stop responding. They're left alone with their guilt, their memories, and the echo of your absence. That silent leaving says, "I no longer need to prove myself to you. I've learned that peace is more valuable than any connection that's not built on respect." Most people don't understand this mindset. They expect reactions, fights, tears. But when you leave with silence, you're refusing to play that game. You're exiting with dignity, and you're teaching them a lesson words can't teach. The lesson. They thought they had control through your reactions, but true power is in your restraint. When you walk away quietly, you're showing them your boundaries. You're saying, I value myself too much to stay where I'm not respected. And that's more intimidating than any battle cry. They expect you to chase or argue, but you don't. That surprises them more than any argument ever could. It forces them to realize they've lost their grip on your energy. They didn't think you'd really walk away, but here you are, gone without a fuss. That's the lesson. Your silence is a powerful teacher. It's a reminder that genuine peace comes from detachment, not rictions. It's a lesson that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is turn and walk away, leaving behind the chaos of words. And that kind of silence, it heals you, it protects you, and it shows them you're not to be played with. When you do this, you've claimed your inner power, quiet, unshakable, and wise. So, cowboy, if you've read this far, you already feel it, a silent shift within you, a truth you knew all along but might have forgotten. You don't need to chase, beg, or explain your worth. You don't have to shout to be heard. Putting your peace first, embracing silence, that's the real strength. Because when you choose silence, you're not losing, you're winning your self-respect. And that's the kind of power that no one can ever take from you.